The disturbing case of Nurse Ben Geen. Hello to my amazing followers. Today I am back with another fun video. If you haven't subscribed yet, I would ask you to subscribe to my channel so that you never miss a video from Ito's 10. In this video, we will be talking about one of the most popular stories, which is about a nurse Benjamin Geen. You all must have heard about Nurse Ben Geen somewhere in the news channels or the social media. However, if you haven't, then don't worry, as in the video we will be telling you about the disturbing case of Nurse Ben Geen. Benjamin Geen is also known as Ben Geen, and is a former nurse who was accused of murdering 2 patients and doing other harmful things to another 15 patients. Ben used to work at Horton General Hospital, which is located in Banbury, Oxfordshire. He used to work as a nurse between 2003 and 2004, and this is when all the mishaps took place. It was between December 2003 and February 2004 when around 18 patients were admitted to the Horton General Hospital. These patients were in the accident emergency department as they suffered respiratory arrests and depression. During this time, Ben Geen was a trainee nurse and was working at the hospital for gaining experience. This is reported that when Ben was alone with the patients, some terrible things happened. Are you curious about what exactly happened? Here it is. When Ben was alone with the patients, 2 of the patients died, whose names are Anthony Bateman, whose age was 65 years, and David Onley, whose age was 75 years. People believe that Ben had a hand in these 2 deaths. So what do you think? Did Ben really kill these 2 innocent people, or was someone else also involved? Continue watching the video to find out. Deaths are pretty normal in any hospital, but the reason why these 2 deaths brought suspicions is that both the patients didn't have any major symptoms, but they only had some respiratory disorders. But again, these patients also had some other unusual symptoms, which also raised a lot of questions in the doctors' minds. The doctors were already worried because of the unusual symptoms. Therefore, they called for an immediate internal investigation. This was days before the death of the 2 patients. Once the investigation was started, the doctors found that around 25 patients had faced a sudden respiratory attack without any previous symptoms, and all of these 25 people were under Ben's care. On the 9th of February 2004, Ben was caught with a syringe in his pocket that had remains of muscle relaxant vicuronium bromide. This also was suspicious, as the nurse wasn't allowed to keep any of such things in their pockets, and not only this, but he had this syringe in his pocket when he came back from his house. Ben claimed that he accidentally kept the syringe in his pockets. However, the investigators were already doubting him, and this increased their suspicions. Therefore, on the same day, Ben was arrested. After the arrest enemy, the police of the Thames Valley conducted another investigation with 40 more police officers, and after finding all the related proofs, it was agreed that Ben was behind the murder of 2 patients. Later, Ben was accused of murdering 2 innocent people and bringing harm to 16 patients, and on this account, he was sent to prison. So what are your views up till now? Do you think that Nurse Benjamin Geen caused all of this, or was there someone else involved? Do you think Benjamin Geen is innocent and arrested without much proof? You can let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you want to know what exactly happened with Benjamin after he was arrested? If yes, then I would advise you to continue watching the video. After Ben was arrested, a trial started in the Oxford Crown Court, which is a high court of justice and appeal located in England. The court is specially made for criminals and criminal cases. During the trial, it was revealed that Ben has been using different types of sedatives, insulin, and muscle relaxants on patients without any cause. He did it to trigger respiratory arrest or other issues in the patients. The reason why he did so was that he enjoyed resuscitating the patients, and other people's problems and screams gave peace to Ben. The trial went around for years, and finally on the 18th of April of the year 2006, Ben was charged guilty of 2 murders and harming of 15 patients by the jury. Later, on the 9th of May 2006, when Ben was around 26 years, it was declared that he will get 17 life sentences, and it was also announced that Ben spent at least 30 years in prison before getting considered for parole. In the court, Ben had no option but to act innocent and vouch for the conviction. But the real question is whether Benjamin Geen was innocent, or was he just pulling an act to fool the judges? What do you think? You can let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. During all this time, Ben's case was reviewed by the top lawyers and the London Innocence Project as well. Ben's lawyer, Michael Powers, said that there had been injustice with Ben. Not only Michael Powers, but another associate, Jane Hutton, also published a report which stated that the Crown's evidence has no value as there is no unusual illness, and Jane also herself researched and found out that patients had a severe illness and their symptoms were not unique, and many patients had this type of sickness prior. Jane even said that the court is being biased towards Ben and is accusing him without any strong evidence. Even though all of Jane's points were valid and quite statistical, however, the Court of Appeal simply rejected Jane's appeal and refused Jane to provide many pieces of evidence during the trial. Later, the Lady Justice Hallett proclaimed that the team and the jury were satisfied as well, and they were willing to draw proper inferences from the proofs that these deaths were out of deliberate actions instead of an advantage of the situation. Dr. Mark Heath, who is one of the most professional and educated doctors, consultants, and an anesthesiologist, also testified in the court. He argued in another report stated that the patient's symptoms were inconsistent, as the drugs that Ben had didn't match the illness of the patients. In other words, the doctor is talking about the syringe which was found in Ben's pockets. As per the doctor, if contents from that syringe would have been injected into the patients, their symptoms would have been different from what they had at the time. He further explained that if those drugs would have been injected into the patients, they would have been paralyzed and not dead. Another appeal that was made in the support of Benjamin was by another medical expert. He stated that the reason behind the death of Mr. David Onley is that he was an alcoholic, and he died because of liver failure and not by a respiratory arrest. The hospital didn't know that Mr. Onley was an alcoholic when he was admitted, and they blamed Ben for the death. Mark MacDonald, the founder of the London Innocence Project, stated that someone intentionally killed the two people, and now have raised such circumstances that Ben looks like the culprit. Benjamin's family also believe that Ben is innocent and is a victim of the blame game. All this evidence and appeals had no value to the justice team, as they were not ready to listen to anything which people were saying. In November 2009, Ben's case was rejected by the Court of Appeal. The jury refused to listen to any of the witnesses or any evidence that people had, as they were persistent that their analysis was perfect, and they did not want to listen to any other people. Later in February 2010 was reopened and submitted to the Criminal Cases Review Commission, also known as CCRC, and a public campaign was started by the London Innocence Project, and they started their research on respiratory arrest in the emergency departments of the hospitals. When the case was reopened, the jury found that around 7 people fainted after Ben injected them with a muscle relaxant. This was then further investigated by Dr. Mark Heath, who appeared in the court for Ben. His thoughts were the same as before, and he again said the same things which he previously stated. Mark also found that Mr. Onley had fever, chest infection, and 2 heart attacks during his time in the hospital. Even the doctors stated that he had very little time left. Yet, the jury blamed that Ben drugged him, which stopped his breath and resulted in a 3rd heart attack. However, as per another report, the cause of Onley's death was liver failure. The most solid proof that the London Innocence team had was that none of Ben's actions was caught on the camera. Therefore, no one can call him guilty if they haven't seen the things from their own eyes. As per another source, there were only 2 patients who were injected with the non-prescribed medications. However, there was an internal hospital report on the events of September 2004, which was not shown to the jury. This report stated that the reports were full of flaws, and many of the staff members didn't bother to record the medications they administered. The report also showed that in the previous December, when Ben was not a nurse, a similar pattern of patients was seen. They furthermore explain it by saying that there were 5 to 6 patients who were admitted because of respiratory arrest and had similar symptoms as the people who died. This shows that this disease might occur because of the changing weather. Therefore, it proves that Ben might not be guilty. This shows that much of the evidence was removed or was hidden from the court, and the jury didn't do a proper investigation before imprisoning Ben. What are your thoughts on it until now? Do you think the court was biased towards Ben? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. The same thing happened with another nurse, Colin Norris, who was accused of killing 4 patients. However, this time the court and the jury said that the unusual pattern of illness is not enough evidence to put someone behind the bars. People say that if the court would have done the same thing with Ben's case, then he would have been spending his time with his family instead of the prison. Everything for Benjamin Geen seemed to fail. It looked like luck was not on his side, and eventually, people stopped working on Ben's case. People stopped all the protests and campaigns for Ben, and he had no other option but to spend his life in prison. It's been years, and yet there is no news on Ben's case, and people have completely forgotten about him. Ben is still in the prison, and he still claims that he is innocent, but no one knows what the truth is. What do you think about Ben's case? Do you think Ben was falsely accused? Do you think that Ben should spend the rest of his life in prison? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. I hope I have covered all the points in this video. If you liked Ben's story, let us know in the comments so that we can bring up more stories like him. If you haven't already subscribed yet, then press the bell icon so that you never miss a video from us. Goodbye for today, see you in the next video.